Magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. Tayo ngayon ay nasa Module 4, no? Mga hakbang na nagsusulong ng pagtanggap at paggalang sa kasarian. Okay? So, nung nakaraan, pinag-aralan natin ano-ano nga ba ang mga hakbang na ginagawa ng ating gobyerno para sa pantay na pagtingin ng bawat kasarian. Okay? So, ngayon, meron tayong ibang tatalakayin sa araw na ito. At ang ating paksa ay ang kampanyang heforshe.org, no? Sa Sogi Bill at ang Sogi Bill at political na paglahok sa ng LGBT. Okay? So, ang heforshe ay pinag-isang kampanya ng UN Women para sa pagkakapantay-pantay ng kasarian. Ito rin ay naglalay isama ang kalalakihan sa laban sa di pantay na pagtrato sa kababaihan at para rin sa karapatan ng kababaihan. Noong ika-20 ng Setyembre taong 2014 sa punong tanggapan ng United Nations, pinangunahan ni Emma Watson ang isang kampanya para sa heforshe.org. Ito ang kanyang pahayag. So, sino nga ba si Emma Watson? Okay? Tingnan natin kung sino si Emma Watson. Yan. Si Emma Watson ay isang actress mula sa United Kingdom na nakilala sa kanyang mga pagganap sa mga pelikula ng Harry Potter series bilang Hermione Granger. Itinalaga si Watson ng UN Women, isang ahensya ng United Nations para sa pagkakapantay-pantay ng mga kasarian at sa ikabubuti ng kababaihan. Bilang UN Goodwill Ambassador, pinangungunahan niya ang kanyang kampanya na He for She. Okay? So, tingnan natin.
Now let's turn to a young woman who has chosen to lend her voice to this very important solidarity movement. She's a leading British actor, an advocate for gender equality in her own right. She's been involved with the promotion of girls' education for several years. As part of her humanitarian efforts, she's visited Bangladesh, Zambia, recently returned, as we just heard, from Uruguay on her first mission with UN Women. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to this stage our co-host and the UN Women's Global Goodwill Ambassador, Emma Watson.
Your Excellencies, UN Secretary General, President of the General Assembly, Executive Director of UN Women, and distinguished guests. Today, we are launching a campaign called He for She. I am reaching out to you because we need your help. We want to end gender inequality, and to do this, we need everyone involved. This is the first campaign of its kind at the UN. We want to try and galvanize as many men and boys as possible to be advocates for change. And we don't just want to talk about it. We want to try and make sure that it's tangible. I was appointed as Goodwill Ambassador for UN Women 6 months ago. And the more I've spoken about feminism, the more I have realized that fighting for women's rights has too often become synonymous with man-hating. If there is one thing I know for certain, it is that this has to stop. For the record, feminism, by definition, is the belief that men and women should have equal rights and opportunities. It is the theory of the political, economic, and social equality of the sexes. I started questioning gender-based assumptions a long time ago. When I was 8, I was confused being called bossy because I wanted to direct the plays that we would put on for our parents, but the boys were not. When at 14, I started to be sexualized by certain elements of the media. When at 15, My girlfriends started dropping out of their beloved sports teams because they didn't want to appear muscly. When at 18, my male friends were unable to express their feelings. I decided that I was a feminist, and this seemed uncomplicated to me. But my recent research has shown me that feminism has become an unpopular word. Women are choosing not to identify as feminist. Apparently, I am among the ranks of women whose expressions are seen as too strong, too aggressive, isolating, and anti-men, unattractive even. Why has the word become such an uncomfortable one? I am from Britain, and I think it is right that I am paid the same as my male counterparts. I think it is right that I should be able to make decisions about my own body. I think it is right that women be involved on my behalf in the policies and the decisions that will affect my life. I think it is right that socially I am afforded the same respect as men. But sadly, I can say that there is no one country in the world where all women can expect to receive these rights. No country in the world can yet say that they have achieved gender equality. These rights I consider to be human rights, but I am one of the lucky ones. My life is a sheer privilege because my parents didn't love me less because I was born a daughter. My school did not limit me because I was a girl. My mentors didn't assume that I would go less far because I might give birth to a child one day. These influences were the gender equality ambassadors that made me who I am today. They may not know it, but they are the inadvertent feminists who are changing the world today. We need more of those. And if you still hate the word, it is not the word that is important. It's the idea and the ambition behind it. Because not all women have received the same rights that I have. In fact, statistically, very few have been. In 1997, Hillary Clinton made a famous speech in Beijing about women's rights. Sadly, many of the things that she wanted to change are still true today. But what stood out for me the most was that less than 30% of the audience were male. How can we affect change in the world when only half of it is invited or feel welcome to participate in the conversation? Men, I would like to take this opportunity to extend your formal invitation. Gender equality is your issue too. Because to date, I've seen my father's role as a parent being valued less by society, despite my needing his presence as a child as much as my mother's. I've seen young men suffering from mental illness, unable to ask for help, for fear it would make them less of a man, or less of a man. In fact, in the UK, suicide is the biggest killer of men between 20 to 49, eclipsing road accidents, cancer, and coronary heart disease. I've seen men made fragile and insecure by a distorted sense of what constitutes male success. Men don't have the benefits of equality either. We don't often talk about men being imprisoned by gender stereotypes, but I can see that they are, and that when they are free, things will change for women as a natural consequence. If men don't have to be aggressive in order to be accepted, women won't feel compelled to be submissive. If men don't have to control, women won't have to be controlled. Both men and women should feel free to be sensitive. Both men and women should feel free to be strong. It is time that we all perceive gender on a spectrum instead of two sets of opposing ideals. If we stop defining each other by what we are not and start defining ourselves by who we are, we can all be freer. And this is what he for she is about. It's about freedom. I want men to take up this mantle so that their daughters, sisters, and mothers can be free from prejudice, but also so that their sons have permission to be vulnerable and human too. Reclaim those parts of themselves they abandoned, and in doing so, be a more true and complete version of themselves. You might be thinking, who is this Harry Potter girl? And what is she doing speaking at the UN? And it's a really good question. I've been asking myself the same thing. All I know is that I care about this problem, and I want to make it better. And having seen what I've seen, and given the chance, I feel it is my responsibility to say something. Statesman Edmund Burke said, "All that is needed for the forces of evil to triumph is for good men and women to do nothing." In my nervousness for this speech, and in my moments of doubt, I've told myself firmly, if not me, who? If not now, when? If you have similar doubts when opportunities are presented to you, I hope that those words will be helpful. Because the reality is that if we do nothing, it will take 75 years, or for me to be nearly 100, before women can expect to be paid the same as men for the same work. 15.5 million girls will be married in the next 16 years as children. And at current rates, it won't be until 2086 before all rural African girls can have a secondary education. If you believe in equality, you might be one of those inadvertent feminists that I spoke of earlier. And for this, I applaud you. We are struggling for a uniting word, but the good news is that we have a uniting movement. It is called He for She. I am inviting you to step forward, to be seen, and to ask yourself, if not me, who? If not now, when? Thank you very, very much.
To. So, ang speech ni Emma Watson sa kanyang tulumpati Sinabi ni Emma Watson na para magkaroon ng pantay na pagtingin sa bawat kasarian, kailangan basagin at baguhin ang mga mapanganib at mapanirang stereotype ng masculinity at behavioral expectation para sa mga kalalakihan. So, ibig sabihin, minsan kasi may mga bagay na pagtingin sa kalalakihan ay hindi laging totoo. Pag sinabi natin stereotype, pagdating sa kalalakihan, dapat hindi umiiyak. Dapat matapang, no? Dapat hindi siya madaling mapanghinaan ng loob. Ayan. So, tandaan natin na hindi lahat ng kalalakihan sa buong mundo ay may ganoong pagtingin sa kanyang sarili. So, hindi lahat ng bansa ay may pantay na pagtingin sa kababaihan. Kailangan ipaglaban hindi lang ng mga kababaihan ang kanilang karapatan, kundi pati na rin ang mga kalalakihan. Ay issue din ng mga lalaki. So, ano ba yung mga issue ng gender equality para sa mga kalalakihan? Ayan yung stereotyping, gender role and expectation na kapag sinabing lalaki, kailangan hindi umiiyak, kailangan malakas. Tandaan natin, hindi lahat ng kalalakihan ay may ganoong aspeto, no, o karakter. At sinabi niya na may mataas na suicide rate ang mga kalalakihan sa UK dahil nga sa hindi nila nailalabas ang kanilang gustong sabihin o expression dahil pinagbabawalan sila ng society. Okay? So, meaning, dapat parehong kasarian ang lumalaban para sa pantay na pagtingin ng bawat isang kasarian. Tayo. So, next naman nating tatalakayin ay ang isang interview ng ABS-CBN News ng Batayang Karapatan ng Kababaihan noong March 8, 2018. Ay pinagdiriwang ngayon ng International Women's Month o Day habang kinikilala ang buwan ng Marso bilang buwan ng kababaihan. Ngunit, ano nga ba ang ilan sa mga batayang karapatan ng kababaihan sa ilalim ng batas? Ito ay tinalakay sa programang Usapang Dekampanilya sa DZMM noong Miyerkules, March 8, 2018. So, tingnan natin. Ito yung kanilang naging talakayan. So, isa sa mga karapatang ito ay ang pagtitiyak na walang diskriminasyon sa mga babaeng nagtatrabaho. Ayon kay Emeline Bersosa, siya yung Executive Director ng Philippine Commission on Women. Aniya, may mga batas na nagbabantay sa karapatan ng kababaihan pagdating sa pag-apply sa trabaho, tulad ng mga Labor Code at ang Republic Act 6725. Layon ng Republic Act 6725 na labanan ang diskriminasyon sa kababaihan pagdating sa mga kondisyon sa trabaho. So, tinalakay natin nung nakaraan, ano nga ba ang mga diskriminasyon na naranasan ng mga kababaihan pagdating sa trabaho. Minsan, hindi sila tinatanggap ng walang dahilan, nang dahil lang sila ay babae. Minsan naman ay porket buntis ay ayaw nilang tanggapin kahit na kaya namang gawin ng mga kababaihang buntis yung trabahong nakasaad. So, nakalagay din sa Magna Carta of Women na dapat ay walang diskriminasyon sa mga empleyada, sa mga nag-a-apply, sa mga trabahador. Okay? Dapat pantay ang sahod ng babae at lalaki kung pareho lang naman ang kanilang trabaho. Yun yung mga ilan sa mga halimbawa. So, ang Department of Labor and Employment ang nagbabantay kung mayroong gender-based discrimination sa pribadong sektor, habang ang Civil Service Commission naman sa sektor ng gobyerno, ayon kay Bersosa, dagdag pa rito, marami pang ibang karapatan ang kababaihan. Natin. So, isa sa mga karapatang ito ay ang pagtitiyak na walang diskriminasyon sa mga babaeng nagtatrabaho, ayon kay Emeline. Aniya, may mga batas na nagbabantay sa karapatan ng kababaihan pagdating sa pag-apply sa trabaho tulad ng mga Labor Code at ang Republic Act 6725. Layon ng Republic Act, and then, ano na natin to naulit. So, ito ang sabi ni Emeline Bersosa. Kasi comprehensive ito. Social, political, cultural, economic. So, sa economic, dapat ang kababaihan ay may right to livelihood, credit, technology, training, skills, at disenteng trabaho. Kung gusto niyang magtrabaho yung babae, kailangan mayroon siyang mapagkukuhanan ng trabaho na disente. Kunwari, gusto niyang magnegosyo, mayroon siyang mga serbisyo na matatanggap or mapagkukuhanan para umunlad ang kanyang negosyo. So, ayan si Emeline Versosa. Okay? So, para naman masigurong sapat ang mga programa at serbisyo sa kababaihan, kailangan aniya ay maglaan ng 5% ng kanilang budget ang mga ahensya ng gobyerno para sa Gender and Development Plan and Budget o GAD. 'Di ba minsan sa inyong mga paaralan, mayroong nagaganap na GAD, Gender and Development na activity. Halimbawa, maaaring gamitin ang GAD para sa pagpapatakbo ng mga women's desk sa mga estasyon ng pulis. Okay? So dito sa talakayan natin ito, makikita natin ano nga ba yung ilan pang mga hakbang na ginagawa ng iba't ibang ahensya ng gobyerno, international o national, pati mga organisasyon, para sa pagpapakita o pakikipaglaban kung anong nang para sa pantay na pagtingin sa bawat kasarian. Kasi kung matatandaan natin, ang populasyon sa buong mundo, halos kalahati rin nito ay kalalakihan. So, paano mo maipaglalaban ang pagtingin sa pantay na kasarian kung isang kasarian lamang ang nagkikipaglaban para rito? So, sabi nga ni Emma Watson, na kailangan parehong kasarian ang kailangang magpakita, na ipaglaban yung tinatawag na pagkakapantay-pantay, para maiwasan na ng mga susunod na henerasyon yung kanilang pakiramdam na sila ay nade-discriminate, na sila ay nagkakaroon ng prejudice. At sana kayo bilang mga mag-aaral, sa inyo magsimula, babae man o lalaki, ang pagkakaroon ng pantay na pagtingin sa ating mga kasarian. Hindi lang babae o lalaki, sa kahit ano pang uri ng kasarian.